Welcome, all of you, whether you are hearing these words as they are spoken, or whether you're listening to a recording later. Take a few moments to notice our connection, the connection of the being communicating with you and you. Now, as you do this, let me say something about who and what I might be. I'm not separate from you. I'm a part of your greater consciousness, the greater consciousness that you're reaching into. So that at the moment, I appear to you in lots of different ways. This is one way, communicating with words audibly through another human being, one of your fellows. But that's only one way in which I'm with you. I'm sent from Source. I'm of the Source as you are. And in this age, and in terms of years, I mean very many years as an age, there is a requirement that certain aspects of the Source enter the reality that is currently yours to assist in an upsurge whereby all living beings upon the earth plane may come to know that they are of the Source also, not separate, not other. You have seen a child pretending to be both the driver and the car, running along, holding an imaginary steering wheel. And this is somewhat like you, by which we mean no insult at all. Your imagination has been so powerful that you've been able to pretend to be both you, whoever and whatever you might be, and the vehicle that you have chosen to drive, primarily your physical body, but more broadly, all of the energy field that enables you to be present on the earth. To have such a powerful imagination is a wonderful gift, one you are wise to be profoundly grateful for. But it can be so powerful, so convincing, that on occasion, a reminder that you are the dreamer, not the dream, can be useful. And so you might think of me as that aspect of you that knows you are the dreamer. Therefore you might say, I come to awaken. Awakening, as you know, from your physical life, is generally not something that happens in the twinkling of an eye. People awaken in different ways and at different speeds. There is no right or wrong way, just yours. Awakening comes in phases too, stages. You are approaching the beginning of another stage of awakening. For many of you, what you might think of as your initial awakening is already some years behind you. But there is still much that lies ahead. Like someone waking from sleep, you're stretching, coming to your senses. Not now, as I speak, your physical senses so much as the other senses that are closed down while you dream the dream. When I speak of myself as an awakener, I'm merely referring to the way in which we are connected to one another. I'm not, of course, your sole awakener. You awaken one another, and there are many who come to help. At this time and over the coming years, anticipate an immense influx of angelic energies. It is becoming much more possible for angelic beings to be, in a greater degree than has been the case for a long time, present here on earth. That presence is oblique. It's not obvious, except occasionally. Angelic presences are seen out of the corner of your eye, felt at the edge of your senses, guessed at, imagined. Let your imagination relax its grip on the physical world you have held in place, and open to sense angelic presences. The greatest challenge for all of you in recognizing the presence of angels is the volume of love they have for you. Most of you, in the complexity of imagining the world, began long ago to lose sight of the fact that you are infinitely lovable and are infinitely loved. You became enmeshed in the dream, and because you regarded the dream as less than perfect, you began to criticize and judge yourselves. Stop now. Do it no more. Each time you encounter self-judgment, notice, stop, throw it away. It doesn't help. Equally, when you judge another, notice that too. Forgive yourself, forgive the other, forgive all. Be free. This is important advice. Take it on board. I recommend it. As you do this more and more, you open to conceive that at least it could be true, that an infinite love awaits you. Pause with me. Be aware of your heart. Imagine your heart having doors. Open the doors wide. Welcome angelic love. If you look within your own being, the energy field that constitutes your human presence, you may find that there are some structures that are deeply rooted. Amongst these structures are beliefs about the nature of thought. By structures I mean shared concepts, widely held, long-standing. Many of these are becoming invalid. all of us, and here and now I mean all the beings of light who love to assist you, come with an immense surge or series of surges of light and love from the source of all. The belief in the power of the mind has become confused in human consciousness. The mind is indeed extremely powerful. You might say that all you create you have imagined first. You used your mind to make it in your mind before you made it in the world. And it is natural that you sometimes look with horror at what you as humanity have created and fear the power of your mind because of it. And so you find yourselves in an ambivalent relationship with mind, both loving your mind and hating it, fearing it. Releasing judgment is the first step in allowing this dilemma to resolve itself. It has not widely been understood that your thoughts, when they travel into the world, meet other thoughts, similar thoughts, thoughts they are in resonance with, agreed ideas. That part you get, you know, it's familiar. But beyond is something that is less familiar. Thought is organized energy. All energy has a consciousness to some degree. The more organized that energy is, the greater its consciousness. When we look at the thought structures that are shared in common by much of humanity, what we observe is a degree of organization, and therefore a degree of consciousness. In other words, thought forms released into the world take on some degree of life of their own. Each time you forgive yourself, you are releasing energy from that accumulated cloud of shared thought forms. Here, I'm speaking of those thought forms which you regard as negative and therefore you regard as needing to be forgiven. But even when we look at positive thought forms, what you can find is that, to give you a simple example, the dreams of your ancestors become your reality. What your ancestors could only dream of, those ideas lingered on. They stayed in the atmosphere. They became present in your lives. Indeed, through your mediation, through the mediation of those who have followed on that particular group of ancestors, but the ideas themselves were there in the air, so to speak. Your ancestors living in ages when roads were muddy and travel difficult, longed that there might be some way in which they could quickly come together with those they love, or maybe even see them at a distance, and of course for you these things are reality. But it was your ancestors who dreamt the dream. Therefore, when you look at your own dreams, be careful. Do not impose upon coming generations ideas that may create difficulties for them. When your ancestors dreamt of easier travel, they meant no harm to you. And indeed much benefit has come from that ability to travel more easily. But you're also seeing the challenges that it brings in your current age. Therefore, when you dream your dreams, give them as light to the generations that come ahead. Dream the most wonderful things you can. Let those dreams crystallize into vividness for you. But then allow them to dissolve. Gather the light that made the dream, and if you wish, give that light forward to the generations to come who will be able to implement it. Grant them freedom, grant them love. So now in your world, you witness rattling around the cage of this reality. Any negative ideas that have taken on some degree of life of their own, that leap into the mind that is open to receive them, and seek to work the limbs of that mind. There is nothing in this to fear, but awareness helps. When you encounter others being swayed by what you experience as negativity, and here by negativity I mean that which you experience as bringing you down, feeling your heart sink, perhaps feeling even your body bow, sensing oppressed or frightened. When you find those thoughts rattling around this cage, bring love to them. Think of them as a frightened animal that wants to escape the cage. The animal has panicked and cannot find its way out. Your love, not for the form, not for the idea itself, but for the place the idea came from, all those minds that cried out, and release that mind energy, that thought energy into the world. Love those. Love the fearing self. That brings healing. That calms the agitated thought energy. The panicked beast trying to break out of the cage is soothed. It relaxes. And when it's relaxed, you can lead it to the door. Thought energy is not permanent. It is not eternal. It may last a long time. But thought energy as you know it always changes. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. The kind of attitudes and actions that I'm suggesting assist that thought energy to transmute. All thought comes from love. When love has been suppressed or lost sight of, it becomes fear. When you bring love back to the source of thought, you release that thought energy to transmute to higher frequency levels. All of this is a precursor to what I want to speak of next. There is a new or comparatively new light entering your world, and it will continue to come in for at least the next 50 years. And in all probability for much, much longer than that. But the first major wave comes over that scale of time. We call this the light of grace. I speak of it as new, but it's not in any sense absolutely new. It is just that the volume and intensity and the degree of presence that it has is new. This you have not known before. This is why I speak of the relevance of the presence of angels. It is these beings above all who bring this light into your reality. In other words, the veils and boundaries that have kept your reality separate from the angelic realms is to some degree thinning. It's becoming more permeable. This has taken a long time, but it is happening now. The light of grace will, by its nature, uproot the kind of fixed thought structures that I'm speaking of. Therefore, the policies I suggest, the strategies, are designed to work with the light of grace. The new tends to find resistance. We might even say that the new always finds some resistance in this kind of reality. That's natural. It's part of the way in which the energy of this world is set up. And so do not be surprised if you find that you are encountering resistances within yourself. First of all, it is part of the nature of the energy field that you have taken on by being in this reality. So it is no fault of yours if you find resistance. And secondly, you volunteered. You came in to help in this process of transforming the world into a world of grace. In doing so, you took the very sensible option of engaging with the energy that forms this world in a very direct way. You embody it. So never be frightened of resistance in yourself or in another. Don't fight it. Fighting resistance only strengthens resistance. So here too, the strategy that I suggest, of course, is love. When you encounter resistance in yourself, be kind. It's just a part of you that is experiencing fear, that is forgetting that it is that which it has been resisting. You are the light of grace. You are beings of grace. You do not yet know much of what grace is in terms of the being you are. A little, and this is not a criticism, it is simply a way of saying there is so much more to come. In your terms, the light of grace is unbelievably powerful. Here too, no criticism is meant. When I speak of it being unbelievably powerful, I mean that it is simply outside of what is currently the belief system of human consciousness. That's all. And this is another reason why I suggest relaxing adherence to thought forms that seek to dictate the nature of reality for you. You don't need those anymore. This is a time, then, in which you can increasingly move into yourself and find within yourself these qualities, this light of grace, and to discover that that reveals to you a new understanding, a new experience of who you are. All of this happens at the pace that is right for you. It does not need to be immediate, and for the vast majority it will not be immediate. For this too is part of what you undertook. Whilst it is entirely possible for you to change within the twinkling of an eye, for almost all it is not what you chose. You chose to be able to slow the process down so that you could study it, and by studying it come to know it in greater depth and understand it more fully, so that in turn you would be able to assist others in moving through these processes. For the process of which we speak are not unique to the Earth plane in any sense. This light of grace is moving through all of the galaxy. It has different effects in different places, but way beyond the limits of this particular galaxy, vast though it is. This light is a presence within the entire universe that is yours. It operates in different ways, in different places. The universe is enormous. The richness of its means of operation are immense, an enormous range. Therefore, what you learn here on Earth has very wide application. For many of you listening, Earth is simply one of your homes. Ultimately, this is true for everyone who listens to these words, but for some it has a more immediate truth. For some of you, your purpose in coming to Earth, whether for many lifetimes or just one, is to develop particular sets of skills that you can use in many other situations and places and dimensions. This does not in any way invalidate the importance of the life you are living right now. Here and now is all that any of us have. Therefore, enjoy this here and this now. Bear in mind, if you choose, the things I have spoken of, but everything that is of importance to you is in this moment, here and now, and there is so much that is in your here and now that is not my words. Your lived experience matters so much. And the purpose of the light of grace is not to take that richness of the lived moment from you, but to deepen it, to widen it, to add dimensions to it, so that more and more you come to recognize that you are of the Source, that you do not need, in a way, to turn to other beings. At least you do not need to turn to other beings to validate you. I trust that you will continue to turn to other beings out of friendship and love. Why would you not? But for validation, to believe in your own existence, to believe that you are of the Source, you will need that less and less. Maybe you don't even need it now. Good. Thank you for listening. Go well.